Hey guys, how are you doing? This is Coach James. I got here with me today, coming to you with another week of videos, some information for you guys. We know everybody is frustrated. There's nothing we can do about the frustration, but we can do something about your training. I'm gonna give you some videos. We're gonna pick up this week. We're talking about the mount position. We're gonna do some transitions. We're gonna do some solo drills. We're also gonna put something in for the kids class as well. All right, so don't get confused when we hit you guys with this bald Brazilian jiu-jitsu. That's just the way we look. That's the way my professor looks. He's got a bald head and a big red beard. I'm trying to follow suit except for the red. All right, so just bear with us. We're gonna show you guys some stuff. Hopefully you'll enjoy it and you'll be able to apply it real soon. Until we can see you again on the mats, this is what we got. Thank you. All right, guys. Like I said, this series we're going to be working on the mount, top mount attacks, but we will show you a couple of escapes for some of the things that we are going to set up. So that'll come a little bit later. First, let's talk about the mount position. With the mount position, we're going to assume that we have our opponent on their back. Whether you're coming from side control, it's a busted guard attempt, or a takedown. It's getting past the knees, getting into a seated position, and controlling. So a lot of times we talk about other things, the landscape. As my students like to call them, an Oscar. If the student has an Oscar or whatever, it's also going to depend on where you're sitting in your mount. All right. So here is a high mounted position. This is probably the least effective mount position you can be in. Is where you're sitting, your chest is high, you're here, and your feet can touch. Not saying you can't work something from here, but this is the least effective. He has more control. It's a less stable base for me. Go ahead, move a little bit. Simply by kneeing me in my butt, you see I can pitch forward and lose the position. But that's okay. We'll take that and add it into what we need. So if I've acquired the high mount, like I said, I'm always pinching with my knees, controlling his waist. If he uses his knee to bump me forward, then I'm come out and flash. All right, this is what we teach the kids. For the parents of our Cubs class, remember this is one of the positions. Get them here, tell them to Spider-Man stick it, and then swim. If the person tries to push off or push us up, hands come back through and down. They do it again, hands through and down to stick it. Now, come up just to speak. From this position, this is where we'll start to set up some of our different aspects of our attack. Go sideways again, people like different controls. For those of you with longer legs than I, a lot of you like to get here, get your stick in grapevine. By grapevine, that means putting your feet through the interlacing the legs so you can control the legs, deliver a lot more hip pressure into Harry's stomach, a little bit more uncomfortable, right? Still Spider-Man stick it and have those control. Some prefer to take their feet, stick it up under the butt with their toes tucked and lift. That way they're hiding their feet, makes it harder for Harry to pummel with his legs inside to separate. Here. Some will go to a high mount, hands on top of the head, knees to the armpit, feet come to the hips, and they kind of ride the hips. This is my preferred position for myself with my stature. So a lot of times I'm working from this position. A lot of pressure on his head, riding his hips, making his hip bump ineffectual. Wherever he goes with his hips, I'm just riding with my feet. You can also go to a modified butterfly here. With this one though, even if you're riding and controlling, if your opponent can enclose, no, just grab the waist. They have a lot more control to try to dump you off. All right? So, the best thing I can tell you is finding the one that works best for you. Different body types have different ways of feeling. I know a lot of the longer guys like the grapevine because their legs are extended here and they still have enough room up here to use their hands and stay stable. Because of my shorter stature and being a little bit thicker, I prefer to get up higher, get my knees in the armpits, taking away their controls, put my feet on the hips so I can kind of ride and circle, and then I can start picking and choosing where I'm going to attack. And that's kind of what we're going to work on here. So climb this way forward. In this position, when I'm here and I get my knees high into his pitch. You see his elbows are here, his hands are here, and I'm flattened down. It makes it really hard for him to separate himself from me. Go ahead and try and push me up here. Try to roll me. That's the one I prefer. It gives me a lot more control. From that setup is what we'll be working on in our next series. I'm gonna show escaping from half guard, since that was our last series, transitioning to the mount, getting to this high mounted position, and then we'll go into our attacks.